That Chronicles. I want to say thank you for watching us, and really appreciate your viewing this and listening to us on the various venues. Hey, if you like this, go to 216 Creator Studios, and you'll find us on there. You'll see us on YouTube and everywhere else, but that's where you want to go. That's our home. Go take a peek and really enjoy this. Hey, my name is Rick Prescott.
I'm Mike Ruffner, United States Marine Corps.
Wayne Coster, United States Marine Corps.
And Jennifer Slown, United States Marine Corps with the Marine for Life program.
All right, awesome.
So we want to welcome Jennifer today. She's a captain of Marine Corps Reserves. The Marine for Life program, she'll go more detail, is a program they developed back in early 2000 timeframe with General Conway. And it's basically a cradle to grave where once they go to boot camp, we want to know where they're at until the day they're put into the ground and provide resources. So Jennifer, welcome, and you can go get everybody updated on new stuff. I'm not sure if the other services are caught up with us yet and doing the same thing, but we're not worried about them. It's all about Marines.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate the opportunity. So like you said, the Marine for Life program is cradle to grave. Marine gets out of the service, whether they've been out for 4 days or 40 years, we are a resource for them to link them with other resources. So that can be anything from education benefits, applying for VA healthcare, mental health support, employment support. Maybe they don't want to go to college. Maybe they want to start their own business. We can link them with entrepreneurial resources. Really anything a Marine could need, whether they got out yesterday or they've been out for a while and they're doing a career change. So that's kind of what we do. I'm based in the Chicagoland area, but it is a national program. So we have reps all across the country.
That's pretty amazing. I remember working down in the Hanover Park area in the transportation industry, and I attended some of your functions over at what was it, Capitol Grill? Was it?
It's over there in Oak Brook there.
Yeah, over in Oak
Gibson.
Brook.
It was Gibson.
Gibson's, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And the Marine for Life accumulated a large number of employers seeking people, quality individuals, to work for them. And so I would go there as a recruiter to try to find and who would show up, Marines and some other veterans from other branches and so forth. And they would hear from the corporate personnel, hey, here's our company. And then all of a sudden these guys would say a little bit about themselves and over hors d'oeuvres, very relaxed environment. And it worked. If you remember those days, that was awesome, because I know you were part of the Illinois Department of Employment Security at the time, and you helped to organize and draw people into those little meetings. So I got an opportunity to see what you guys do, and I said, "Wow, this is awesome! That's the way to do it. Really well organized and had an impact."
And that program used to move around. It was Gibson's down in the city on the north side,
right,
in near Old Town area. And then they came out to the suburbs, so that way they can catch all veterans. It didn't make a difference what branch they were in, but it gave the veterans opportunity to hear from the employers, but at the same time create that network, which is a huge thing about, looking for work.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned employers, right? So that's another resource that I link Marines and all veterans for that matter with. There's a certain set of skills that service members come with, right? We show up on time, we have good work ethic, we're honest, hardworking, and we can be the front face of a company in many senses. So it's those skill sets that are instilled from into the 18-year-old kid, guy or girl comes out. They've already got those skills where maybe the average college graduate doesn't. So those are skills that employers are seeking, and we want to link those veterans with those employers. So we're always open to employers reaching out.
It's kind of great is that Jennifer comes into this job is that she's part of the National Marine Business Network, and she also has an event that she does once a month down in the Naperville region for the far western suburbs that she will probably elaborate on.
Yeah, so actually about a year ago, I started a networking group for veteran-owned businesses. So any veteran, any branch of service, if they're a business owner, they can come out to this meeting. They network with other veteran business owners. There's that natural sense of loyalty, camaraderie, where we want to give each other business. So we've got a huge swath variety of businesses. We've got a guy that tricks out garages. We've got financial planner. We've got a painter. We've got nonprofits in our group, but they're all veteran-owned businesses and nonprofits that benefit from not only knowing one another, but then referring business to one another. So it's been a really good energy, and it's been an awesome thing to see grow.
Wow, that is phenomenal. What What started all of this? What is the history of this? How did this begin?
The networking group or Marine for Life?
Oh, I'm thinking of both. You know, the Marine for Life. Give a little background on that, perhaps, if you can, and also how it evolved into what it is today.
Yeah, so like Mike mentioned, it started in the early 2000s with the intent of helping Marines. That there was a noticeable need for Marines needing resources when they got out. Right, a young Marine is excited to get out of the service. Maybe they're done with their 4 years. They're like, I want to be done. I want to get out, start my business, or go to college. Can't wait to be out. Well, then 3-4 months down the line, maybe college didn't work out. Maybe they're struggling with the business. Maybe they're having some mental health issues, or they're realizing, hey, I don't have health care right now, and I got a baby on the way. I need insurance for my family. How do I get that? And they don't necessarily have that guidance or help that they once got when they were in the service. So that's kind of where the Marine for Life program came in to be that resource to help Marines link with whatever it is that they need. We don't particularly provide those services ourselves, but we link them with those resources.
Yeah, because they're missing their squad leader or platoon sergeant that used to turn around and, hey, something's not right. Let's get over and get
Right.
this going.
Right.
When you think about it, a young person, they leave mom and dad's house. They go from mom and dad's house to the Yellow Footprints. They spend 4 years under the direct guidance of a corporal sergeant, where to be, what time to be there, what to wear. It's a very, regimented process. And then they get out, and it's not that they don't have the skills to function or be successful, but it's that they sometimes need a little bit of direction to kind of help them through that transition. So that's where Marine for Life comes in.
Well, we kind of view ourselves, and Wayne can attest to this. He's the commandant of the McHenry County detachment of the Marine Corps League. And we have, about 139 members or so. And in that, we consider ourselves a resource. We've got legal teams in there. We've got bankers, people that can talk about VA loans intelligently and how to go about it, and they understand the processes. We've got and so on. So once again, the various types of veterans groups become resources for veterans when they come out. But it's also awesome that now we have this link with the Marine for Life type of program. That's just an added resources to the overall. It's so important, So you kind of tweak it up, a notch. We can give advice and here's how to write a resume, but all of a sudden they run into you and you actually put them in front of the people that really matter.
Right. Well, and that's where Marine Corps leagues especially come into play, because Marine for Life, while we're working to get more recognized and more well known within the general, not only Marine population, but the civilian population, that, hey, this is a resource. You guys are oftentimes the front line that, a Marine that needs help or is seeking assistance may come to you and, hey, I'm behind on bills, or, how do I get into housing? They come to you guys first and you say, hey, we've got this resource, but you also want to reach out to this. So it's a natural connection. And that's why we love partnering with Marine Corps League.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I used to always describe it, especially when dealing with Major Matt too, is that we're like the translators. We're all translators because we've been there, done that. When a Marine gets out there and he maybe thinks, hey, I'm an 06 something or other. Well, nobody knows what that is, but it's a communicator. Well,
right.
It's trying getting them to speak civilianese, but at the same time, getting the employers to understand that you get somebody that worked on a tank diesel mechanic, and you're like, okay, he worked on a tank, he can't. Time out. Diesel equipment is the same no matter whether it's a tank or your tractor trailer. You need mechanics for your trucks. The transition is going to be a lot faster. So it's teaching both parties so they can communicate. Because otherwise it's a complete miss. One's talking one way and the other one's talking the other way, but they're in reality saying the same thing.
Yeah, and on our level too, we like you just talked about 06 something and others and everything else. We happen to know that the really important MOSs, places like 3531, motor vehicle operators, things like this. So like recruiters and 06 something and others, they're pretty irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't know. Those comm guys. Comm's always down. That's all I know. So it's usually comm guys' fault.
You didn't come back with anything.
Well, we can talk about truck drivers. Anybody can handle a steering wheel.
But no, you do make a good point, Mike. That there's that disconnect in terms of translating those skills and those abilities. Just because there's huge skills and just things that Marines come with from their time in service that, if they can't translate it into a good resume to present to an employer, how do they get the job, right? So that's something we help with too. We refer a lot of folks out to get resume help writing and just making sure that they can, present themselves and to be the best candidate for the employer.
Well, and the big plus is when you teach the HR people what to look for, There was a Marine that had his own headhunting business that he worked with the Navy because a lot of his corporations he sponsored, they needed the skill sets of those people that worked on a ship. I used to say the same thing in this area when you got Kraft Foods and everybody else, the HR side people I knew, it's like, you're looking for people that can do that stuff, go up the Great Lakes. You got people getting out. I says, and they look at you like, sailor, come on. I think says it's floating city. You may be a hull tech, but guess what? You're not doing just a hull tech. It's just like when Wayne, worked on helicopters. He didn't just do that. We all kind of branched out to other things outside what we were specifically trained for.
Yeah, there's all the collateral billets that Marines have while they're in, or they drift to different, they go TAD somewhere, backed out.
The only thing that screws them up when they go to a Marine security guard. That gets them all hosed up.
Yeah. They think they're all nice and shiny in their uniform standing guard duty, right?
Right.
I can take a hint, No, I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
Said somebody's got to do
Yeah,
it.
someone's got to do it. I think what you're alluding to is that once again we talked about it many times on this veterans-based program, is that no matter how many years you were in, unless you were in for like 6 months and got out, but if you're in for 4 years or better, you have pretty much had a lifetime of experience that compared to somebody that even went to college. And so many exposures and so many things or variety of things that you had done and accomplished and learned and picked up, including the leadership skills and also, as you alluded to a while ago, the life skills. You get up early. You're disciplined already. You know what it is. You have a sense of mission, dedication, loyalty, all of those type of things that are just inherent in your personality makeup that you didn't have when you were, if somebody that goes to college, they come out and they don't quite have that.
Right.
Well,
the self-reliance and accountability piece alone. I mean, I was a 22-year-old corporal and I was in charge of a $3 million account.
Exactly.
I was overseas. I was deployed. It was all of our supply gear, right? So if something went missing, they couldn't fix a truck. That truck was deadlined in the middle of Afghanistan. It's like we had to have rigid accounting. Everything needed to be not only accounted for but maintained properly. And at the end of the day, it was life or death out there, right? So these young people are come with an immense responsibility, and that civilian employers really need to capitalize on it.
Well, I think the civilian employer that is stuck on the concept that military personnel don't have a great deal to offer because of whatever illusion they have in their minds. Combat. Oh my goodness, no, we don't want to tinker. They're losing out. And I've heard that criticism on the side of like HR personnel and so on until we had a discussion and they changed their minds, but I think they might have changed their mind because maybe I sounded a little aggressive or what. But I mean, generally speaking, they're losing out. You had the experience of going into the warehouse business, and in a matter of less than a week or 10 days, you transformed that institution. They had their issues, you had solutions, and you implemented those solutions. You knew the SMEAC approach and all of those type of things. And Wayne, how many times in your job that you had solutions that other people that had been doing it for years hadn't been able to figure out? All of a sudden, you just come in there and you have this creativity about you.
The problem you run into with employers that, well, I hired you to do this. And then when you say, well, I can do this, that ain't what I hired you for. Yeah, but I'm capable of doing that.
Right.
Their mindset is stuck on, I hired you to push, sharpen pencils. I said, well, not only that, I can empty the trash can. Well, that ain't what I hired you for, So
Right.
You run into that with employers too. So
Yeah.
how do you get them to say, hey, I got a skill set? Being
Right.
a helicopter mechanic and all that, I had to get parts, I had to do, so I was versatile. I knew where to go to look for this stuff. So when I started out in the company, I was able to think ahead and say, hey, we only got 2 of these left. We usually have 5 on hand. Well, they wait till they're all the way down to none and they go, oh, we can't do anything anymore because we don't have, well, duh, think ahead,
Right.
So,
Well, and I think that's a challenging part with what you're saying about employers. They weren't raised to think ahead, and we do. I was a grunt. You walk in an area, if it looks like an ambush, smells like an ambush, it's probably a freaking ambush. We think ahead because we have to in what we did for our career.
Yeah.
I remember a long time ago we were looking at hiring a master gun at our company, and he was going to take over one of the leadership roles. And my bosses, the owners of the companies, 'cause I've been there for several years already, and they said to me that you guys in the military, you don't realize that that out here the bottom line matters. How much money we have. You just say, hey, listen, I need a tank, and you get one. And so here I have to have the funding and make enough money in the profit circles in order to get that tank. So you guys just have a different way of approaching things and everything else. So I said, I'll tell you what, with this new guy coming in, why don't you ask him that question? See if he knows the difference and what solutions he might have in regards to managing that sort of thing. See what he says. So anyway, they did. They asked the question. I was right there in the interview. That Master Guns came up with an answer and that blew them both away. He goes, I understand that it's the bottom line matters, quoting them. He wasn't even in the room. And he goes, the bottom line is a very important feature in a civilian community. And we didn't really have to worry a great deal about that in the military. However, what you need to understand is that thinking ahead, knowing in advance, having the parts and supplies in advance and everything that you need, rather than hiccuping as you go along the way. He goes, I'm all about processes. And I went, oh, he's hired. He was already talking their language, and they underestimated. But then all of a sudden, that those lifelong skills brought him right to the surface. So suddenly he became very important. And you experienced the same thing when you went to that company.
Well, the thing is, especially when you point out the senior enlisted, they're involved in budgets. You got to project what you're going to need for beans, banners, and bullets in any organization in the military. The civilians may think that, let's go ahead and get a tank. Well, it doesn't work that way. It's got to be placed on order. It's got to be within the budget, and it's got to be authorized by somebody. So when you get a senior enlisted, yeah, he's all about that, because who do you think's doing all the paperwork to put that together for the officer to go give the report?
Yeah.
That's the Master Sergeant, Master Guns.
Well, you alluded to this as well. Here I was, and I'm not just speaking of myself, I'm speaking of everyone in the military that serves in the military. Here I was 20, 21 years old. I was a sergeant. Next thing you know, I'm in charge of $30 million worth of equipment. I've got 49 instructors and 200 students in our school. And I went, whoa. And all of a sudden you're kind of overseeing that. You're part of a team as well as that. So it's a coordinating, delegating, all of these type of things that you learn to do, and you actually make things move. I mean, imagine going out on the range, having a college kid say, okay, here's a 50 caliber machine gun. Let's go to the range and let's go shoot it. Well, all he's going to do is take it to the range and go shoot it. He's not going to worry about the ammo and what if the weapon breaks down? Do you know how to fix it? Do you know how to take it apart and put it back together again? Do you have an ambulatory system, EMS, EMTs and all that are you thinking about the larger picture? And who orders all of this stuff, and who's going to go get it, and who's going to bring the chow? So you got a 21-year-old kid doing all of that and being led by competent officers and all of that too.
Yeah, we usually just sit in the background.
Yeah, you just tell us what to do. I want a 50 cal core set up by Friday, and then sit back and watch.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much.
So I got questions as we've been. All right, I'm a hay shoveler. I come to you and say, okay, what businesses are offering me a job? Do you have a list somewhere where, okay, these are the businesses that we got so far that are hiring?
Yeah, so we have a couple different options. We've got a list of businesses that are looking for specific skill sets. So example would be, I have an alarm system company in the city of Chicago that's looking for technicians that'll come out and service the alarm systems and the sprinkler systems. And while the Marine Corps doesn't have that specific job, they do have comm guys, right? Mm-hmm. Technical background. IT guys, that's all the same kind of systems. And the Marine Corps has a certification program too, that they can get certifications while they're in for those types of systems. So specific fields, yes. And then we've also got our LinkedIn network online where we can post information on Marines that are seeking employment. So maybe I don't have a business just yet, but somebody in my network does that knows somebody that needs a hay shoveler or something that would translate for the hay shoveler's skill set, right? So whether it sounds like it's a physical job, right? You got to be up early, you're using your muscles all day long. Maybe that's going to be physical trainer, police, security, wherever we can find an overlap between those skills and a job on the civilian side, that's where we work.
Because I know I got a few friends that are in the trades, and the ironworkers trade, plumbing trade. They are hurting big time.
Yep.
Because they took all the vocational stuff, thanks to whatever, out of the schools. So now we don't have plumbers. We don't have. So
Yeah.
that's not hard to learn.
It's not hard to learn. It's a very specific skill set, and it's absolutely needed in our American culture, because the average person doesn't know how to fix the toilet, right? They got to call a plumber, and it's a very lucrative business for somebody that wants to get that certification and then work in the trades. I mean, it's how the union groups have provided welfare for families for generations.
Because that's what the understanding is. He says we've had people come in and they're I say blown away. He says, yeah, I might have been a carpenter, but I think I can do this. And the union sends them to school. Everything is doing, they're making a good buck when they start out. And they say, wow, I should have done this, So for everybody that's out there is thinking, oh, I could have, should have, oughta. You oughta.
Right.
So all you got to do is ask. It don't cost nothing to ask. And, even a buddy goes, hey, so-and-so was talking about, well, here's a resource. Go there and look. You've been working as a hamburger flipper, but dang, next week you can be making twice your amount, going to school and learn how to be an electrician.
Yep.
You just got to get off your butt, so to speak, and do it.
Actually, if they got those skills, even flipping hamburgers, there's people their first year just fixing fast food equipment. There you got a shortage, and it's like $60,000 a year. And within 2 years, you're at six figures, but you're on call. If McDonald's or Burger King has a machine go down, you drop what you're doing and get out there and fix it, because they're losing money by the hour.
Right.
Sure, even appliance repairman, which is simple. They're looking for, but that would be the thing. All right, I want to be an appliance repairman. Do you have a resource for me to come to you and say, hey, where do I go?
Right. And if a young veteran already has a certification, they want to start a business, I've got resources that'll help mentor them through that business process, help them write a business plan, in some cases help them finance it to start their own business. There's also the Skill Bridge program. So I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but for Marines that are like at the end of their tour, maybe they got 6 to 9 months left, they can actually get an internship with any of these companies that I've talked about. So they're still on active duty, they're still receiving their active duty pay, and then for the last 6 to 9 months of their contract, they'll actually go work for McDonald's Corporation, right, the corporate level, or they'll go work for Alarm Detection Systems, whatever company it is. So they're still getting their military pay, their benefits, their health care, and then they learn the job for 6 to 9 months, they EAS, and then they're already getting a job offer at the end of that. So
My nephew did that.
Yeah.
Up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. He was stationed at Lejeune and ended up about 6 months before, ended up working with an aircraft company in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, about 6 months before. And when he got out, he didn't stay there, but he went over and now he's got himself a good job at assisting him in transitioning.
Right.
He told me it was very valuable.
Yeah, and it probably helped buff up his civilian resume too, to say that,
Right.
hey, look, I had this internship, I have these skill sets, and while he didn't work for that specific company, he probably found another one in that same industry that
Right.
said, oh, look, you've got all this experience on the civilian side, let's hire you today.
So they didn't have anything like that during our
Is
time.
that a process that's in place in the armed services when you get to be what we used to call a short timer, that those resources let you know that they're available? Hey,
Those are actual programs.
Yep, there are programs that are available. It is dependent on the individual unit's needs. So not every unit's going to be able to release a Marine to go to Skill Bridge. So let's say a unit is slated for deployment, and that Marine is going to be on deployment for the last 6 months, and they're only going to be home for a month at the end of their tour. It's going to be the needs of the Marine Corps. But usually, as long as the command is not, that Marine is not a integral part, like they've kind of already slated, hey, so and so is going to be out in the next 6 months, we're going to fill somebody else in their spot, right? And they're just kind of waiting their time out. Usually they're going to be able to get out and be able to do the Skill Bridge program.
See how behind the times we are?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the up until honestly the post 9/11 era, there's been a lot of programs that have come about, Marine for Life, obviously, but the Skill Bridge program too. Just in order to help Marines, and I know a lot with your time in service, it was like, hey, you got out, high five, see you later, go figure it out. But today they've really got a forward thinking mindset of it doesn't end at the end of the contract. It's beyond that.
Well, and it also, it's to turn around, reduce the homelessness and suicide rate in the military. You know, because
Absolutely.
those are all factors, because nobody wants to be a burden on their family if they're losing it.
Yep.
You know, most of the people I used to deal with is that once their unemployment ran out, then they want to talk to me. It's like, okay, guy, if you were talking to me 25 weeks ago, guess where you'd be at
Right.
now?
Right. It's a great point. You know, when someone gets out, if they've got no job prospects, no healthcare support, they're struggling with mental health. You know, it's a pretty bleak situation. So, you know, by having these programs in place, it mitigates those issues. It sets them up for success, and it makes not only a better Marine veteran, but a better citizen, and a better community contributor.
So talk a little bit about your personal, you know, employment that you have besides the Marine for Life,
Yeah.
and how it plays into your current role.
Right. So on my day job, what pays the bill is I'm in real estate. So I do real estate and property management with Keller Williams Veterans Team. So it's me, my husband, and we have 2 team members. My husband's Army National Guard. We forgive him for that, though, right?
A little bit.
We let him slide. And then I've got 2 other team members. Chris Jobin's a Marine veteran, and then Teresa Aquino, her husband and I serve together. So she's a military spouse. So we're very focused on the veteran population in our business, particularly the VA loan, and helping veterans use that, just because there's a lot of bad information out there. I don't know if you've ever talked about it on your podcast, but a lot of bad information. It's one of the best loan products out there, 0 money down, and unfortunately, a very small percentage of veterans actually use it. So our job is to educate veterans on how to use it, and help them through that process to be able to purchase a home and attain home ownership. So through that process of kind of branding our business and helping veterans along the way, I would come across veteran-owned businesses all the time, and I would be like, you know, I want to refer business to you naturally. So then from that came the idea of, you know, I wanted to start this networking group and connect all these veteran-owned businesses that I know together so that they can know each other. So my running line is, I don't know everything, but I know people. So I've got a huge network of people that I know. I try and whenever I can refer to veteran-owned businesses and help buff them up and refer business to one another.
That's fantastic. I think the KW, is that the same one that Barbara Bloomfield belonged to? We interviewed her on the show one time in real estate, and that's what she did. She was their veteran ambassador.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there's
So-
there's KW Military is like a subset of our brokerage, and so it's any agent that is either a veteran spouse, current military, or they've got a child in the military. Basically, a group of agents that have a special interest in military members and helping them. So KW Military, I'm guessing she probably was part of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So bottom line is, don't be stubborn and bullheaded. If you want to succeed, you've got plenty of resources to do it.
Yeah, there are so many resources out there, and again, it's not me, the Marine for Life program, that's particularly providing them, but it's me linking them with all these outside resources. And there are so many out there. There are so many good people that want to support veterans and Marines especially. Whether it's patronizing a business, hiring a veteran, helping a veteran through a tough time. It's just, we live in the best country in the history of the world. And we're fortunate to be in a state that is very veteran and military friendly.
Oh, this is awesome. This is fantastic.
Are you connected with Bunker Labs?
I have connected with them
Okay.
with some of the events that we're doing, that they're doing, as well as Chicago Roll Call as well. So we do some.
That's still
events.
in existence?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're bumping actually. They're doing really good. So my predecessor in the Marine for Life program. So quick backstory. I only took this position on a couple weeks ago. And his name was Gunnery Sergeant Carroll, but he was really involved with roll call. So I'm hoping to get to their next event and be involved with that. But they've got really good events that they put on.
What is roll call about?
That's the one that originally started, the history, of course, roll call won't say it. It started with Sears. They had a bunch of veterans within Sears, and they used to get together at Penny Road Pub, and it was a networking group where they brought their corporate resources, and then veterans could come there and do the same thing. And then when Sears started going through their corporate downsizing stuff, is that it kind of branched off and became roll call, and they were between originally Gurney and downtown Chicago. Every month they would flip. And there's some gentleman who, he's not a veteran, but they're connected with Pepsi Corporation, and they do some stuff.
So once again, the importance of networking. So they networked, and now they became a resource.
Right. The problem is if you don't, kind of toot the horn, nobody
Right.
knows about it.
Right, exactly.
Well, and I think that just goes back to the mindset that we always take care of the Marine to our left and right, and just in the bigger picture, every veteran to our left and right. So a group of veterans started that. Hey, let's help each other out. That's what the Marine for Life program is. You see somebody that's falling behind, you grab them, you pull them up, and you help them through whatever they're going through.
So do you actually get a list of the Marines getting out in our area?
So I don't get a list, but anytime someone is getting out, they each Marine goes through what's called TRS. So it's like a transitioning out of the Marine Corps program. And unfortunately, they compact it down into like 3 days. It's a very like fire hose to the face. Here's your education benefits. Here's your VA benefits. Contact the Marine for Life program. And it's like, like I said, fire hose to the face, way too much information in such a short period. And so whenever a Marine goes through that program, part of that checklist to get, to do their checkout sheet, right, to get out of the Marine Corps, is they have to contact the Marine for Life program. So I do get probably 2 or 3 a week, pings that say, hey, Staff Sergeant so-and-so is getting out, Lance Corporal so-and-so is getting out. And they've reached out to me. I get their name, their email, and I respond back to them and say, hey, thanks so much for registering with Marine for Life. I give them a quick rundown of the resources that we have and how we can help them. And I always let them know, hey, you may not need this right now, but save my contact information, because in 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 10 years, you may need something. So please keep my information. And if I'm not in this position at that time, I'll be sure to link you with the person that is. So it's that lifetime cycle.
You had mentioned a while ago that, we are on the ground and we're a great resource for personnel or organizations such as yourselves.
Yep.
So what I'm wondering, is there any benefit of sharing that information with veterans groups such as ourselves? Because
Yes.
now we can reach out to the individual, go over and have a cup of coffee with them.
Yeah. So,
And
So what I do when I reply back to them is I let them know, hey, we do have Marine Corps leagues that are great resources. So I have my pre-written email that covers all these things, and I do include the Marine Corps League and let them know that we got them in McHenry County, DuPage County, Fox Valley, basically all the Chicago surrounding areas, Cook County too, and let them know that the Marine Corps League is an available resource. But yeah, we can definitely do some left seat, right seat, masterminding on how we can get those Marines connected to the Marine Corps League.
But they're reaching out voluntarily to you. You're not being force fed from headquarters. Marine Corps.
Correct. Yep. And they're supposed to register with the Marine for Life program when they're going through TRS. There's not like a hand slap if they don't, but they are supposed to register with the Marine for Life
Yeah,
program.
because one of those things, I talked to the judge advocate for the Marine Corps 4 years ago on it. I just got a hold of RS Sergeant Major, who's going to reach out to the Sergeant Major in the Marine Corps, is that when they get that DD 214 in the lower right corner, right above the date and the type of discharge and stuff, there's this thing that they initial that they want their DD 214 sent to the State Department of Veterans Affairs. And I want another comment in there where it goes to the State Service or Veterans Service Organization, which means we would have access to reach out to them, because if they reach out and they feel like getting with you, that's half the battle.
Right.
It's the people that don't reach out.
Those are
Yeah.
the ones that probably need it the most, to be honest, because they
Right.
have too much pride, or they think they don't need the help. And it's like you said before, when they get too deep in the hole that they're like, they can't climb out. Right.
And next time you see them as a obituary or something. But if they get that in there, it gets around that Privacy Act part. If they initial off,
Right.
then we can get force fed the information where you can do a better job on your part, and then at the same time we can do ours.
I'm wondering how much of this, if there's any information out there. Suppose an individual, say, lives in Harvard and he wants to do something, but it's in Mundelein. He can't commute. He lives where he lives. Okay, so for him to say, man, I can go and do this, but where I live, it's a 2-hour drive for me. I got a beat up car, I'm limited on funds. So okay, he won't reach out because to him it's an impossibility. So is there something in there that, like, if he approaches you and says, hey, what can you do for me? What can you do for me?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that distance piece, I would say that there's a lot of resources within our network that we could potentially link him with if he needed some kind of a temporary housing, if he needed, there's even nonprofits that'll help with like vehicle repairs and things like that. It would really all depend on the specific Marine's situation or veteran situation, but we can get pretty creative in how we can help
Okay,
that.
so there, basically, again, there's no excuse.
Yep.
trying to think of all different scenarios of me or why and all that. But like I said, reach out. Yeah, it's there. If they can, and like you said, we'll find somebody that can.
We'll find a way or we'll make a way. That's the Marine mentality, right?
Mhm.
Adapt and overcome.
By hook or crook.
No, that's excellent.
Well, it seems, the population seems to be a little bit more mobile now today than what it ever was. People are willing, I think, to if they get the right job and feel an element, psychologically speaking, from the point of view of a good job security. If I make this move and commitment, then I'm going to be there for a while, and so on. I think people are becoming more mobile in that particular regard. And some people aren't afraid to commute an hour. So I think it depends on the job that they get, that kind of thing. And I think where you're coming through is, as far as your resource base is concerned, can answer a lot of those types of challenges that somebody might perceive as a challenge.
Right. Yeah. They, like you said, they might be coming back to, central Illinois, but the job opportunity is in the city of Chicago. But if it's the right move, compensation wise, opportunity wise, future career goal wise,
Right.
they'll probably be more than likely to relocate and take advantage of that opportunity if
Right.
it makes sense.
And the only reason I'm speaking that way is I'm looking at my nephews. Here they are from McHenry. Well, that son of a gun lives in an apartment complex, a nice place in the north side of Chicago, downtown. He's got himself a great job with one of the largest insurance companies on the planet. And so if people are willing to move, if you get the right job and you have the right resources available to you, they're able to move. They're willing to move. And I'm thinking of like veteran businesses as well. I think one of the studies that we took a look at a while back was even in Elgin, Illinois, is really a veteran-friendly community for veteran businesses. So what a great place to set up a business. Well, that's 25 miles from here, but are you willing to set up a business there and be successful with it? If you want to be successful, go to those places that statistically state or show that they're friendly to veterans.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be successful.
You're mentioning, those businesses, they're able to thrive. So the networking group that we host once a month, and I don't think I put through out there when we meet. So it's the third Monday of every month, 8 a.m. down at Rosie's Home Cooking, which is a Marine-owned diner in Naperville. But so last month, actually in January, we hosted a veteran-owned business fair. So any veteran-owned business that wanted to come and showcase their wares, their services, they could set up a booth and talk to the general public. It was open to the public to come to, right? We did this at the Naperville VFW, and we had 25 veteran-owned businesses that were showcased, and we had probably about 200 community members come through. It was a huge success. It was only like a 3-hour block. The guy that sells cooking spices, he sold out. We have a guy that does woodworking. He made a lot of great sales. And then our garage guy got a check for $8,000 on the spot to have a job done on someone that came through. So those are just a few.
A big garage because he didn't charge me that much.
Right. Well, it was a big garage. It was epoxy floors. It was a car raising lift. The whole kit and caboodle. But it just shows that we, depending on the community you're in, there's a huge support network. And people say they want to support veterans, but they often don't know how, right? So how do you support veterans if you're not directly plugged into and connected with the veteran community? Mm-hmm. Well, it's patronizing businesses, it's supporting veterans causes like the Marine Corps League, the VFW, making donations to those types of organizations, and then just being willing to to connect veterans that to different resources.
Well, the other side of the coin too is this: when you talk about a business. One thing I learned about my nephew, he started up a business down in the Oak Park area there. And Forest Park. What happened was once he started up this little business, it was a restaurant. The other restaurants in the area, they kept dropping in on him, the owners, and they would invite them over to their facility. They'd have a lunch with them, et cetera. And the next thing you know, he's teaming with these other facilities. They want you to be a success. And the experience that I most recently had, we just did a fundraiser. In this community, I couldn't believe the amount of support that we had from our business community here. And they couldn't give a lot, but what they could give, they gave. And we ended up benefiting from that interaction. And some of them are coming back and saying, hey, come back and visit me again. We made friends in this community just because, one word, veteran.
Yep.
And that's a pretty awesome thing to be able to say. So there's a lot of support in a lot of
Absolutely.
ways, you know, so,
Well, there's something else, and I brought it up to another veterans group. We do Red Shirt Fridays. Back when
Yeah.
the war was really going on, they made a big deal about Red Shirt Fridays, but that was everyone doing lip service. Our group, we get together every Friday. We wear our red shirts.
Friday.
Well, yeah, we
Most Friday.
well,
it was winter.
I do it every Friday, whether you're there or not. But the thing is, because we go out there, and then it got to the point that we started bringing the wives. Well, now the wives, they don't care if we come or not. The wives get over their end and they do their thing, and we do our thing. But when Rick's going out there to some of these businesses, because we supported them during COVID, they turn around and were a lot quicker to open up and support our initiatives.
Oh yeah. Next thing you know, we'd have 15 people at either, hey, breakfast with Marines. So we call our members of our detachments. Next thing you know, we're in a restaurant and we're lined up on tables, and they're going, oh my goodness, we're feeding a whole bunch of people at a very short period of time. So we let them know in advance that we've got some people coming. We're going to do this event again. And now we did the Red Shirt Fridays, where we do this in the evening hours, and we also do it periodically. We don't do it every day, but we do it periodically throughout the months. And we rub elbows with the community. They turn around and say, thank you for supporting our business. And now we go back to them. Hey, can you help us out here? Boom, got it. So it's an interaction. It's a matter of just going out. And you said a word about networking. And that's how you network, is you reach out and touch someone. And that networking pays off in the end. A lot of ways, more ways than one.
If there's
It's reciprocal.
one piece of advice I can give to someone who's just gotten out or getting ready to get out, is get plugged into the network. Absolutely.
Bingo.
Because if you're sitting at home, nobody knows you're looking for a job. Nobody knows you're trying to start a business. Nobody knows about your business. If you're getting out there and you're networking with other veterans, other veteran businesses, just other veterans in general, like you're
Right.
going to get plugged into the community. You're going to know who's hiring. Just being involved in groups like the Marine Corps League alone, you get hooked up to that network. And so, you don't have to be at every meeting. You don't have to go to every single thing, but you're going to get
Right.
email notices on things. Just staying abreast of what's going on. You're going to talk to people and learn who's hiring. And by talking about your personal situation, people are going to say, oh, you're looking for a job. Oh, you want to start a business. Oh, you're getting ready to go to school. You're not trying to start the GI Bill. And that's how you get the word out, right? But you got to get plugged into the community. If you just
Right.
go back to the civilian community and kind of meld back into the bushes, right, and hide, nobody's going to know about you, and you're not going to know about anything going on. So you
Yeah,
have to plug in.
very, very well said.
Going back to your breakfast, Andy actually brought it up the other day when we saw him, is that he wants to figure out how to do that breakfast up this way because of the distance. He's like, oh man, it's an hour or something.
It's a little bit of a drive.
I know, that's why I don't come down all the time. I was like, want to get the kids on the bus, there ain't no way you guys are
Yeah.
leaving.
Yeah, we're
breakfast.
already done.
Do we know, like, when I got out, I had benefits. Okay, what are the benefits that they have today that they can use as far as schooling? Or like you said, if they want to buy a house, did they upgrade it or did they downgrade it?
Yeah, I mean the benefits are I would say much greater today than in your time in terms of what's available to veterans that are getting out, Marines especially. They do get that brief during that TRS process when they process out. But again, it's a fire hose to the face. Most of the time, they just want to get through the class and get their check marks so that they can, focus on moving back home or getting their family settled or, getting all their gear turned in. They got to go to SIF and get their flak scrubbed off. They're getting kicked back kind of thing. So they're focused on other things, unfortunately. So it's fire hose to the face of information. They do get, electronic resources and a physical printout, but they don't always remember that once they get out. So it's, again, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but getting plugged back into that network once you get out, give yourself a couple months to breathe once you're out of the service, but then get plugged back into that network because it's important.
See? So I know I used a VA loan when I got out, but then I never realized I had an education thing. Okay, so, and it was 5 or 7 years after I got out, and it was good for 10 years.
Yeah.
I never realized it, never paid attention, and then I said, I want to get trained in something else. So I used that and became an HVAC tech along with being a toolmaker.
Right.
It was there, free, no big deal.
Well, and not only did you have that education benefit, but post 9/11 has the option to pass their GI Bill on to a dependent. So whether that's a spouse or a child, they can pass those education benefits, college for their kid, college for their wife. Maybe they've already got, the technical skills, or they started a business, or they've already got a degree when they got out and they don't need to use it. Well, rather than letting it go to waste, they can transfer it to a family member. So
That wasn't available in our day.
right. Or that the VA loan can be used any number of times. It's not a one and done. It's not like you buy your house once. It's an unlimited number of times that they can use it. So again, a lot of bad information out there about that. Not great information about education benefits. The way that we dispel this is, getting them involved and getting them educated on these different programs.
So your encouragement is for the veteran that's getting out or is out, a veteran, get involved.
Yes, absolutely.
Touch base with these networks. Get in contact with the Marine for Life.
Yep.
And utilize those resources to advance in your life.
Absolutely. And it's not even just the business piece, the employment piece of what can you do for me, but it's also just that camaraderie piece, right? I have friends all the time that are like, I've got a friend down in Florida. She says, I have very few civilian friends because I don't connect with them because they don't have the same mindset. So, well, what's the mindset? Well, it's the mindset of being focused, being dedicated to something, that living an honorable life. Well, where do you get that with other veterans, right? You had that focus and sense of purpose and mission when you were in the service because everybody around you had that same mindset. So where do you find that mindset? Veterans organizations, Marine Corps League.
Don't think alike, talk alike.
Right? And it doesn't matter if a Marine served, again, last year or 40 years ago. It's that shared experience. It's that same mindset, we all went through boot camp at the, different time periods, but we all went through the boot camp experience. We all served the 4 years. We dealt with the, emptying garbage cans, cleaning latrines, that kind of thing, living out in the field for a couple weeks at a time, that shared proverbial suck, if you will, right? That could be on air, right? That's not bad.
We're good.
Proverbial suck.
We're actually pretty tame today.
Yeah. I haven't heard a cuss word yet.
But,
I can say for being out as long as I have and all that, when me and Rick and the wives usually hate it, there's a group of us, I always go, okay, ready? And I'll just put my hand up and I go, hey, hold a belly button. And if there's veterans there, you're a veteran, you know what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you go through it, that's what it is. And I go, why do you do that? And I go, well, I know there's 6 vets in here, aside from us.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
As a civilian, so I want to go back to mindset a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. When someone's coming out of the military, their mindset might just be like, "I'm done. I
Absolutely.
just want to go home.
Yep.
I want to go back to what it was before I went in," and they don't realize that they need these resources. And I like how you said, like, "Hey, you might not need this now, but keep my information." And as we move forward, is there a follow-up to any of these bodies that come back from the military after a certain amount of time where you know that they're probably going to need it? Is there any kind of follow-up from your organization?
Yeah.
Go back to that?
Yeah, so I've got every time somebody registers, I put them in my little database, and I do periodic calls, at the 6-month mark, the 1-year mark. And then if someone tells me, hey, leave me alone, or I might say, hey, when would be a good time to follow up? I know you said you're good for education right now. Would it be okay if I follow up in 3 years when you're expected to graduate, or 2 years, or whatever it is? So there is that continuity follow up. And typically the role that I'm in right now is a 3-year experience tour. And so once I'm done with that, somebody else is going to take over. So I have every intention of passing on my database to them and saying, hey, here's the timeline to follow up. So it's that consistent touch point, making sure that they're still aware, like, hey, how are you doing? You good for housing? Oh, your lease is ending in a year. Have you thought about buying? Oh, hey, I know you're getting ready to graduate. Have you got plugged into these different employers? Oh, you're in a mental health field. Have you talked to the VA about getting hired as a mental health therapist? So just kind of reaching back out and reminding them that the resources that we have.
What are some of the biggest resources people call you to look for? What are the challenges?
The challenges, I would say the biggest resources that most reach out for is employment. That's typically what the Marine for Life Network is known for, is like employment, business type things. That's probably, I'd say, 60% of what we do. And then the other 40% is the healthcare, the housing, other resources that we have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And something else with Jennifer, her background is she was with McCursick. Is it still called McCursick? Out of Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, McChrissa. Yep.
Anyway, that's when they bring people in that are obligated to the Corps until they get the 8-year mark.
Oh, IRR you're talking about.
Right, the IRR, they come in for the thing. I'll let you go ahead and run that ball.
Yes.
But that kind of plays into what you're doing now.
Right. So typically, a Marine will sign an 8-year contract. So it's 4 years active duty and then 4 years in the IRR. And the IRR is, unless we're in World War III, you're not coming back in the service. But technically, if the Marine Corps said, hey, you got to come back, or any other service for that matter, they could tap you, and legally you're supposed to come back because you signed a contract, right? So the IRR, once a year they do what's called an all hands event, and everybody's supposed to come in for usually 1 or 2 days. They get briefed on different programs that are available. They may or may not offer like flu shots, things like that. But it just basically says, raise your hand. Are you still alive? You don't even have to be in standards, really. I mean, you're supposed to. It's not like you got to run a PFT or something, but they come in, they get some resource exposure. They get paid for the day. Sometimes a Marine Corps league will get up there and talk. I'll get up there and talk and let them know what we have available. But for that last 4 years of their 8-year contract in the IRR, they come out once a year and they get briefed on things. So yeah, typically they, depending on the regional setup, they might do it in the city of Chicago. They might do it out in DeKalb, down in Springfield, down in St. Louis. But the Marines are all supposed to converge on this one point. It's like 300, 400 Marines that are technically in the IRR.
They just want to make sure they can find them.
Yeah.
But it's a time for a reminder too.
Yep.
I remember being on one of those programs with you downtown Chicago.
Right, and that's when she was part of the program. So you don't remember her, do you?
I don't. In fact, for a while there, I lost touch with the Marine for Life program. And until all of a sudden Mike gave me a call. We just had General Lukeman from the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation last weekend at an event in Fort Sheridan.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Mike called me on the phone and said, guess what? We have Jennifer coming. Who's Jennifer? I didn't know. And he goes, Marine for Life. Really? They're still around. And so I had lost contact, and all of a sudden here we are again, which is phenomenal because at that time, several years ago when I was recruiting for my employer, the Marine for Life program was essential, and it was very active and all that. And I think COVID probably
beat it up a little bit.
beat it
Yeah.
See, I was already retired then.
but then all of a sudden it's back, and I'm like, oh right, and it's coming back with a fever, and I went, perfect, awesome. Now is when we need it the most.
Yep. Absolutely.
But welcome back.
Yeah.
To have you spearheading this in this area, it's awesome. It's fantastic.
We have a listener question on the screen.
Oh, we do.
Tim.
What do we have here?
Tim Paul, first and foremost, says, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for your support, Tim. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.
Says, I have vets in our family. What is the best way for vets to seek this information? Is there a phone number they can reach out with?
Yeah.
Yep.
So how do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me directly. My phone number is 630-803-2251. That is my personal cell phone, and I do give that to every Marine that comes through because, it might not be a 9 to 5 call that they're calling me about. It might be something more urgent, so they can call or text me at any time.
Well, you just gave it to everybody on the planet.
I understand that. Hey, if you're
Get a call from China.
well, hopefully not. But if there's a Marine that ever needs something, preferably during business hours if it's routine. But if it's something more urgent, they can always call me or text me at that number. And then my email, if they want to reach out, is Jennifer, Jennifer, B as in Bravo, Slown, SLOWN @gmail.com. And it looks like they dropped it off in the comments there too for the correct spelling. We are working on getting my my Marine for Life official email set up, but in the meantime, they can use that one.
And what about our sister services? What do they do?
Yeah, so the
Besides try to catch up.
they're left in the dust. We're always running the 18-minute 3 mile. So the PFT of the book. The Army has a similar program. I don't know if it's called Soldier for Life. I think it's called something else, but they've got a similar program. I'm not aware of a Navy or Air Force similar program. So like I said, I know the Army has one.
Didn't this program change its name several years ago to Veterans for Life or something like that? Because it was Marine for Life that I knew it.
It's always Marine for Life.
But I understood that they said, hey, we don't want just to transition Marines. We want to get all the veterans involved. Didn't that happen?
I never heard of that.
I thought, man, maybe I dreamt it up or something. I don't know.
Probably.
I mean, that'd be a good
Yeah,
initiative to
insane.
get everybody under the same umbrella, and then just
Right.
have different like a Marine rep within that organization, and Army rep within, to have each service have their own rep to deal with their respective veterans. But
Right,
it would be
right.
good to have kind of a main organization, a DoD facility, if you will, of the different services.
Well, I understand if the different branches had their own organization. I understand because there's certainly a different culture between their branches,
Absolutely.
and it's
Even the
not a
Army.
bad thing. Well, the Army runs its show like they've always run it.
Yeah, well, if you're not a paratrooper, you can't talk to a leg, and if you're an artillery, you can't talk to either one of them. It's like, you guys wondering why the Marines are the way we are. It doesn't make any difference. From Marine to
We're
Marine.
not as compartmentalized.
But the whole basic thing is we don't turn down any veterans.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the biggie.
And I do want to throw that out there that yes, it's the Marine for Life program, but a veteran of any branch of service can reach out, and I'm happy to link them with resources. And that's a Marine rep nationwide will do the same thing. So
That's
They
awesome.
don't have to just be a Marine. You know, that is our bread and butter, obviously, but we help all veterans.
Fantastic.
No, I know you're new to the job, but I know that Great Lakes has a transition course that they do at least once a month. There's a Navy senior chief that runs that program.
Okay.
If he hasn't retired lately, but that's where everybody, like if they're out of Chicago or 224, if there any Marines in any Army, any branch of service that get ready to get out from Milwaukee down, they'll all go there for a few days for their training.
I would love to get that individual's information at the end of this if you've got it.
I have to go home and get it.
Okay. Well, in a couple hours when you get a chance.
Yeah. With everything else that's going on.
Right.
One of the things is that you and I, we can go back and forth. Of course, you're making a fire team. Of course, where does your husband line up in that seniority with the fire team? Is he like the last man on the totem pole? Because
He's the executive officer. So yeah, with regards to the fire team, so it's me, my husband, and then we've got 3 kids that are 3 years and younger right now. So a 3.5-year-old, a 22-month-old, and a 3-month-old. So he holds down the fort a lot while I'm out on the ground, doing this kind of stuff. So
Busy.
yeah, been busy in more ways than one.
But one of the things is that because we discussed it a few years ago, is the National Marine Business Network. And as I explained to Mark, I said, Chicago is not the same. You can't do the same thing as you do in California or anything else because, for us to actually have something effective, you got to have something in the northern suburbs, western suburbs, far south suburbs,
Yep.
and then the city of Chicago because you can't get somebody to go from Flossmoor up to, like Great Lakes to do something with the business network because it freaking takes 2.5 hours to
Yeah.
get there in traffic.
Yeah.
We never actually found that formula. Of course, now about a third of the list is all bad that he keeps putting out. And I'm like, hey, a lot of these people moved out of state. They all decided to get out of state. They're in Colorado and Ohio and everywhere else. But that's always a trick bag, especially, and that's where Matt Toon was doing between the city and the far west suburbs, doing that luncheon.
Right on.
But I don't. Right now, I don't think it would work. The climate's not the same.
I think what we're going to try and do is we're looking for a staff NCO to come onto the program as well. So once we get that second individual to kind of help facilitate this program, we are going to be rotating around. So we might hold an event in North Chicago and then the west suburbs and in the city and then, something in Joliet in the south suburbs and just kind of rotate where we are just to make sure that we're touching all the Marines.
The tough part is today's veterans aren't the same as the combat veterans. And I know that student veterans associations are all struggling because when they had combat vets, they all want to do stuff together. Well, now they don't have it. They checked out and they could care less about the vet next door to them. That's something that's changed in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think definitely the shared experience of having deployed to those specific area of operations. So like, the Iraq vets always kind of, huddled together and the Afghanistan vets huddled together. It's definitely something to be said for that shared experience. I do think that, the veteran mindset in general, there's always going to be some connection. And it's for sure strengthened by those types of deployments and experiences. But my hope is that the student veterans organizations continue to grow.
Well, we're pretty much running out of time here, but before we shut this thing down, what I want to know, do you have any final comments regarding the Marine for Life program, what you can do, what we should do, how do we help, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, how anyone listening can help is just connecting veterans, whether they're Marine or not, to our network. So if an employers as well. So if it's a veteran or an employer that wants to help veterans or a nonprofit organization or a business that wants to help veterans, have them reach out to me directly. I can add them to my database and make sure that I'm linking them with the Marines that are getting out and then linking those Marines that are getting out to the resources that want to help them.
Well, that being said, to our listeners and our viewers, thank you for watching this show. Once again, we are called Roger That Chronicles, and this is a program that's been on for a year now, And all of our programs, as for those that have been watching us, we are very serious about talking about issues that pertain to the interests of vets, of veterans in a general sense. You can find us on Spotify. You'll see us on YouTube and 216 Creator Studios. Certainly look for us. Join the conversation in the future. Jump on board, like us, join us, and become part of this conversation. It's fantastic. Our next show is going to be on Thursday, March the 7th, right here, same time, same channel. So we'll see you guys then. Mike?
And we want to encourage, if you're a veteran, to get connected. You got the American Legion, you got the VFW, you got the Marine Corps League, Navy League, Fleet Reserve Association, Polish Legion. There's a bunch of veterans groups out there. Find one that you feel comfortable with and call home. That way you get connected. Nothing else, you get away from the silly civilians one night a week.
And thank you so much for Wayne Coster for being here. He took Jason's place, and honor having you on board here. And certainly our guest speaker, Jennifer Slown
Thank you all for having
from
me.
Marine for Life. And this was just fantastic. Thank you for what you did.
18,356 times. So I'm keeping track.
He kept.
And I'll certify that.
We will see you next time. Have a great one. Take care.
Semper